بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين وصلى الله وسلم وبارك على عبده ورسوله نبينا وإمامنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين أما بعد. Let's move forward to Hadith number 51. One heading states from one version of Subul Salam, قدر ما يتوضأ به ويغتسل. How much water should a person use for wudu and ghusl? And another version it states الاقتصاد في الوضوء, moderation when making wudu. Moderation when making wudu. خيرا إن شاء الله تعالى. Next hadith states, and this is hadith number 51. وعنه رضي الله عنه أنه قال كان رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم يتوضأ بالمد ويغتسل بالصاع إلى 5 أمداد متفق عليه. He also narrated, meaning Anas رضي الله عنه, that the Messenger of Allah ﷺ used to make wudu with a mud, and he used to make a ghusl with a sa'. And this was up to 5 amdad, ila 5 amdad. And this hadith is agreed upon by Al-Bukhari and Muslim. طيب. So 4 muds up to 5. Anas radiallahu anhu tells us that when the Messenger of Allah alayhi salatu wasalam would make wudu, he wouldn't use too much additional water. A mud is obviously 2 hands cupped together, a spoonful of 2 hands, a scoop of 2 hands, 2 hands cupped together, 2 moderate-sized hands, 2 moderate-sized adult hands. And the sa' is going to be 4 muds. 4 muds. So 4 to 5 muds. When we talk about zakatul fitr, the dates, the barley, the grain, the rice, the oats, the Prophet's way of measurement with regards to weight and with regards to volume, naam, weight and volume, naam, and the mud is how they used to measure volume and not weight, naam. The volume, how much fits into this space versus the weight of something. So we have the mizan, and then we have the mikyal. Khairan inshallah ta'ala. So therefore, the hadith is clear. If you just take a handful or a scoopful of water, you'll clearly see how much water is contained in a mud and how much is contained in a sa'. So next time you get a chance, try your best to make wudu with just a mud. Try that now. Of 2 handfuls of water, try to make an entire wudu just with that. And also, when you get an opportunity, try to make a ghusl with a sa', with 4 of those double scoops. Now, Sanani rahimahullah ta'ala, he says, وَتَقَدَّمَ أَنَّهُ صَلَّى اللَّهُ عَلَيْهِ وَسَلَّمَ تَوَضَّأَ بِثُلُثَيْ مُدٍّ وقدمنا أنه أقل ما قدر به ماء وضوئه ولو أخر المصنف ذلك الحديث لهنا أو قدم هذا لكان أوفق لحسن الترتيب. Sanani says, we've previously mentioned that one day the Prophet ﷺ, he made wudu with 2/3 of a mud. And 2/3 of a mud is the lowest amount. the littlest or the least amount, the least that the Prophet made will do water. And obviously he says he could have put that hadith here in front of this one or put this one near that one. It would have been better. وظاهر هذا الحديث أن هذا غاية ما كان ينتهي إليه وضوءه صلى الله عليه وسلم وغسله ولا ينافيه حديث عائشة الذي أخرجه البخاري أنه صلى الله عليه وسلم توضأ من إناء واحد يقال له الفرق بفتح الفاء والراء وهو إناء يسع 19 رطلا لأنه ليس في حديثها أنه كان مليانا ماء بل قولها من إناء يدل على تبعيد ما توضأ منه وحديث أنس هذا. طيب. He says here that there's no contradiction between this hadith, these narrations about the mud, the 2/3 of the mud, and how him and Aisha radiallahu anha made wudu with a larger amount of water, or made ghusl with a larger amount of water, okay, or made wudu with a larger amount of water, which is a faraq. And obviously these different ancient prophetic measurements are going to be relative with regards to certain things, such as zakatul fitr, and they are going to be beneficial to know about and to be aware of, but the physical application of them isn't going to be but so pertinent with regards to other things. Tayyib. The spirituality connected to the measurement and the volume, no problem. As far as the Arab customs of measuring and volumes that has nothing to do with the ibadah, then a Muslim is free to use this amount or etc., so on and so forth. Tayyib. Moving forward, he says that there's no contradiction there, whereas it doesn't mean that jug or pitcher or that pot was full to the top. What's important is that this, he says, والحديث الذي سلف عن عبد الله بن زيد وحديث أنس هذا والحديث الذي سلف عن عبد الله بن زيد يرشدان إلى تقليل ماء الوضوء والاكتفاء باليسير منه. He says these two hadiths prove as that a Muslim should try his or her best to use the smallest amount of water while making wudu possible. Period. End of discussion. Not to use unnecessary, excessive amounts of water. وقد قال البخاري وكره أهل العلم فيه أي ماء الوضوء أن يتجاوز فعل النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم. Then he quotes Imam al-Bukhari when he said that the people of knowledge dislike for a person to go beyond what the Prophet ﷺ did when he made wudu. All right. And our explanation of subul of al-lu'lu wal marjan, we have given some guidance and we have given some instruction with regards to these hadiths and this concept of using such a small amount of water to make wudu or such a small amount of water to make ghusl. How can a person wash his whole body with just that little bit amount of water? Now, we said that, of course, that's over 1,400 years ago. Many things were different then. Many things are the same today, but many things are different. And from that is the technology that is available for water and availability of water and running water and plumbing and recycled, reusable water. So an example of this to prove this is there wasn't plumbing in the houses of Arabia in the time of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Maybe some other castles in Persia or China or different other dynasties, parts of the world may have had the technology for plumbing, indoor plumbing, but for sure not in Arabia. Maybe the ancient Egyptians had indoor plumbing, but not ancient Arabia. They didn't have indoor plumbing, like many other parts of the world. So a person would have to either go outside to use the bathroom to relieve himself, or have something, a basin in the house when a person is sick, or when a person is tired, or when there's challenging weather outside, it's extremely cold, raining, snowing, a windstorm, or a person just can't, it's an odd time in which they can't go outside. In America, the United States, we say an outhouse, And many people, I've never experienced this myself, but many people, they'll say, specifically Black Americans, they'll say when we visit our parents, who are our grandparents in South Carolina, our grandparents, grandma, and in Georgia or Alabama or Mississippi or Florida, all right, or, deeper parts of the South, they would say, in the summertime we have to go use an outhouse. Now, this may be obsolete nowadays in 2023, but in the 80s, early 90s, many people, they'll tell you these stories. And the people who are living in normal houses, they have electricity, air conditioning, TV, satellites. They have, but they still use the bathroom outside, an outhouse, or in America, a construction site, or you may be in an airport or train station in which they're renovating and they have a temporary bathroom, and it's a we call a porta potty, or a Johnny, whatever they call it, a John, whatever they call it, in which you go outside and use the bathroom, and there isn't but so much water and flushing and so on and so forth. So the technology of plumbing and of running water, for many people, not all, is a novelty. It's a blessing. It's something that didn't exist. So water was highly valued, and it was relatively scarce, especially in Arabia. And one of the principal foundations of Arabian culture was the abhorrence of waste. The abhorrence of waste. And how scarce water is. The rain doesn't fall but so often. I myself, I never lived in the desert, but I lived in Medina for a decade out of my life. And I can bear witness firsthand to the scarcity of rainfall without any exaggeration. Just imagine you come from the United States, not Las Vegas or New Mexico or Arizona or parts of California, where, it's desert. But let's say you come from the East Coast, New York, Boston, Philly, DC, whatever the case may be, right? Delaware, all right? Even in the South, whatever, Midwest, in which you used to 4 seasons: rain, snow, wind, fall, summer, and so on and so forth. So you go somewhere to a place, and out of 365 days out of the year, you literally see it rain twice, 3 times. 5 days of rain is rare, a week. And even when it's the winter, or obviously winter, fall, is, give or take, whether it's 2 seasons overseas or 4. Many people say just 2 seasons. And there are only 2 seasons that Allah just mentioned in the Quran. لإلاف قريش إلافهم رحلة الشتاء والصيف. So the Quraysh, Allah mentions their trips back and forth, Mecca, Syria, summer and winter. So whether it's 4 seasons or 2 seasons, a colder part of the winter and a rainy season towards the end of winter, beginning of summer, whether you call that spring or part of winter, is a little rainy, but it doesn't mean it's raining every day. It's just cloudy and not as sunny, okay? And it's still relatively wet outside, but it's not necessarily raining every day. Let alone it rains a little bit versus actual rainstorm. And seeing children go outside of their apartments and houses, jumping and playing in the rain like we would do in America with snow. A snow castle or snow angel or snowman or snowball fight. They're literally having fun in the rain because it's so rare. So hearing about this, reading about this isn't the same as you seeing it. So if that's in the 21st century, just imagine what it was like in the 7th century of Arabia with regards to how precious water was. And not one single drop can be wasted. Now, and of course, after the ancient periods, the medieval periods, we see different wars being won or lost because of the availability to water. The availability of water. How scarce water is in the desert. And of course, from the most famous example of this are the Crusades, and the second the second Crusade. Okay, the Crusade in which we have figures such as Salahuddin Ayyubi, may Allah have mercy upon his soul, poisoning the wells and burning the wood and the twigs and the fiber in the direction of the wind that's blowing towards the marching Crusader armies, making them hot and thirsty and parched and having no access to water in the desert, and the horns of Hatin, right? And of course, Salah ad-Din Ayyubi, may Allah have mercy upon him, he's credited with this genius strategy, but he was not the first to come up with the idea of poisoning the wells and the road of the enemy. All right? Tayyip. What's important is he became famous for it. So regardless of these crusaders and their cavalry and their armored knights, there was no joke, right? No joke. Those armored knights were no joke. In general, let alone the Templars or the Hospitallers or the Teutonic Knights, heavily armored knights, okay? Arrows bounce off of their armor, big broadsword, spear, halberd, so on and so forth, mace, big war steed charging. Those knights charging would wreak mayhem on the armies, mayhem. It will punch holes into the line it was a big problem. So outsmarting them, tricking them, using their strength against them. No army can march without water, can survive in the desert without water. What good is this big, strong, heavy war steed that's dying of thirst? What good is this knight with all of this heavy armor, all of these, maybe 100 pounds of armor on him when he's in the scorching sun of the desert? Is of no use, right? And that's why some of the great military tacticians or theoreticians, they mention this, that an army marches on its stomach. You have to have water. And in the desert, that's common sense. Water is extremely scarce and it's extremely valuable. So the concept of if the army doesn't have access to water, it doesn't matter how strong or powerful they are. They're going to die. They're going to run out of. They have to have water. So the culture of the Arabs and anyone else who lives in an arid society, a desert society, is to value water. And that's something that we can't necessarily understand nowadays because water is so accessible. You can go to the store and literally spend 30 minutes picking what spring water you want, literally. What brand of water you want. Hawaiian, you want this volcanic water, Fiji, so on and so forth. Avion, this organic water, this alkaline water, purified water, distilled water. One brand has small bottles, large bottles, 32 packs, 24 packs, 12 packs, gallons. It's so much accessibility to water. So we can't necessarily understand these hadiths that much, let alone the fact that we have recycling. And obviously the hadith mentioning that inna fil wudu'i la israfan, that you can waste water when you make wudu. There's an extravagance in wudu, even if you're on the bank of or the shore of a river or a lake. That hadith is da'if jiddan. It's extremely weak. And that hadith is not to be applied to our times in which if a person runs the sink, are you wasting water? Is there such thing as wasting water in a place in which there's modern plumbing? Because all the water that goes down the sink, it does what? It comes back. And who pays for the water bill? You do. So in reality, is that considered wasting? If you take a 20-minute shower, a hot, steamy shower, or not like a therapeutic shower, and it's steaming, and you're in there singing and, rubber ducky scrubbing, you write your name on the mirror, it's that steamy. Is that a waste? Is that haram? Or is that you're going to reuse the same water, right? Let alone the benefits that using that water takes. It's not just you wasting water, but it's a therapy. You showering and the hot water on your body relaxes you, taking a bath, etc., etc. So looking at the concept of our society and the technology that is available to us, is there such thing as wasting water? Now, of course, it doesn't mean just go turn on the faucet and let it, run unnecessarily. That's just a waste. That doesn't make any sense. You're paying for extra things that you don't need. But if you do need the water and you are using the water, is that considered wasting? Is it haram to go to the wudu station and to cut it on? Or do you have to cut it, close it, open, close it, open, close it, open, close it every time you wash a part of your body? And of course, from time to time, the importance of you taking water and making wudu out of a bowl or a basin. That way you can be in the mindset of, I don't have to have all of this water. This is a blessing. I could be living in a time in which water is scarce, right? Think how easy things are for us. Allah gave us this technology, right? And also the concept of Think about Muslims who are prisoners and captives who don't have access to water. Think about those filthy kuffar, whoever they may be, Zionists or Jews, whatever, mushrikun, whatever type of kuffar they are, that capture Muslims, lock them up without water, knowing that they need water for wudu, knowing that they need water for ghusl, knowing that the Muslim needs water for istinja, knowing that cleanliness is a part of the Muslim's faith, his identity, a part of it is cleanliness. He knows this, and he intentionally humiliates this Muslim and tries to break this Muslim's spirit and soul, stripping him of his clothes, lock him in a place in which he doesn't know the direction of the Qibla, not giving him any water, offering him wine to drink and pork and swine to eat, waliyadhu billah, or having some type of temptress, attractive woman to be his nurse, in which she has to touch him and take off his clothes. And they know that the Muslim man doesn't want to be around this ajnabiyya, this foreign woman, it isn't a mahram for, right? And try to seduce him, let alone sexually abuse him, waliyadhu billah. And the stuff that has reached the news, the videos, the pictures of, them taking those captives of those Muslims in Palestine. May Allah take revenge from them. Ameen. And Abu Ghraib and the other prisons. That's just the stuff that reached the news. Allah knows best how much stuff is hidden of them mocking and humiliating Muslims. Right? Trying to defame Muslims. Trying to get them to do things that they know will hurt the spirit of the Muslim. Not the body so much. I can take the physical pain, but the spirit of the Muslim. We're going to lock you in a place for 30 days and you don't know the Qibla. They know that's going to hurt the Muslim. We're going to not give you no water. They know that's going to hurt the Muslim. We're going to feed you khinzir. That's all there is. Eat the pork or die. They know it's going to hurt the Muslim. They know this. And they try to do this. And that's why فَلَهُمْ عَذَابُ جَهَنَّمَ وَلَهُمْ عَذَابُ الْحَرِيقِ. They will burn in hell. Well, alhamdulillah, they'll burn for their crimes and their humiliation. And Allah tells in Surah Al-Mutaffifin that they used to, وَإِذَا مَرُّوا بِهِمْ يَتَغَامَزُونَ, okay? And they would make fun of them, they would wink at them, they would laugh at the believers, they would make fun of the believers. And the believers will have the last laugh. It's not he who laughs first, but he who laughs last. So the concept of water, valuing water, respecting water, realizing the blessing of water, and the concept of realizing that there are things that Allah has given us, that Allah has blessed us with. So the prophetic way is not to waste, is not to exploit something unnecessarily. And of course, that's applicable to all aspects of life. Is do not exploit a thing too much. Oil wells. Look at all of the different, people talk about genocides of people, but just look at the animal genocides. Just look at the native people of this country, the United States. How many years did they feed off of the water buffalo? Or the buffalo, the plains buffalo, the bison. How many years? How many years did they have wolves? Whether they hunted the wolves for their skin, whether the wolf was a part of the tribe as a pet. How many years did they have eagle feathers in the different headdresses? How many years did they have these types of skins of these different animals? How many years? And they didn't go extinct. But when the European colonists and the settlers came, look how fast the wolf became endangered. Look how fast the buffalo became endangered. Look how fast these different animals became endangered in the different parts of the Americas, the Spanish and the Portuguese. And the native people lived with those animals for years. And they hunted them, they ate their meat, they took their skin, but it was never just raping the land and exploiting the land and juicing and squeezing every single ounce of juice that you can from the land. That greed that was only known from those European colonizers and settlers. So the Muslim, he is to benefit from the earth. He's to benefit from Allah, giving him the things. He doesn't go to the other extreme. Some native tribe says, oh, you can't hunt this animal, or you can't dig this yellow iron, gold. You can't do this. And the other extreme of the Europeans that just took all of it and killed so many people in the path of that. So that's, I need food for thought. And the last thing I will say is, you look at these different resources and commodities and how people live in this awoken times, quote unquote. They ban the name of different teams such as the Redskins or the Indians but they don't ban the name of the 49ers. And obviously the 49ers come from 1849, the gold rush. And if you look and you study the history of the gold rush and how many native tribes were decimated and wiped away, and they were kicked off their land, they were killed and raped and murdered because of the gold rush. Because of the gold rush. So in actuality, if the Redskins is a bad name to have, and they have to change it to the Commanders, then the title, the 49ers, should go as well, because they committed many atrocities in search of the gold that they would worship. As, if I'm not mistaken, I think it was Hernan Cortez. He said when they met some of the early Aztec delegates before they got to Montezuma, and they say, like, what do you want? What are you here for? What are you after? And he said, we suffer from a disease. They said, what disease is it? We have doctors, we have physicians. He says, no, our disease is different. We suffer from a disease of gold. It's an insatiable desire for gold. We can never get enough of it. And just look at all of the different woes and the crazy atrocities that took place just in the search of gold. And those native people, how long did they use gold and smelt gold? For centuries. And it still was enough left. So the Muslim is never ever to just use something until it's no more and just take all of it. All right? That's the moral of the story, huh? Wallahu ta'ala alam. Wa sallallahu sallam mubarak ala abdihi wa rasulihi nabina wa imamina Muhammad.